Hey there, and welcome into this lesson of Unwind from the Grind Yoga. I'm going to be showing you a few things about the hip joint and spinal position to help free your body up from tension from the daily grind. I'm going to start here with feet about hip width and hands on knees, knees bent. Start with a few pelvic tilts and feel how the pelvis moves over the top of the thighs. And this is what I'm talking about when I refer to the hip hinge. Feel how pelvis turning over thighs creates a hinge there. And as you're doing this, notice that when you tuck the tailbone down, it makes your spine round up toward the ceiling. And when you push your tailbone out, it makes the spine bow down toward the floor. And release and come up. We're going to be using that understanding, feeling the spine in these various poses. Once again, bend the knees, place the hands on the knees, and we'll take one pelvic tuck, tailbone down, spine rolling up. Notice how the spine pushes up against your shirt toward the ceiling. Then take the tailbone out a little bit to bring the spine to what I'm going to call a neutral position. If you go beyond neutral, you'll start to feel your chest and ribs push into your shirt toward the floor. So we're going to try to balance ourselves right in the middle, neutral spine. And it's not that this is the number one position for the spine, but it actually creates some interesting experiences in the mind. That's part of why yoga uses balance and alignment. In this position, with a neutral spine, front ribs collected into the body line, we'll take the hands folded under the forehead and practice holding with strength. Neutral spine and the hinged pelvis. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release your arms, come all the way up. And then we'll add a little bit more challenge. Bend the knees, hands on knees. Take one pelvic tuck to feel again an arched spine, and then send the tailbone out a little, going over the hip hinge, front ribs in and create your neutral balanced spine. We'll start again with the hands folded under the forehead, and then further challenge, straightening the arms and hold your position, neutral spine. You have to start to feel where the bows and flattenings and arches come into your spine as we hold these poses. Release your arms, come to standing. Let's try that now in a straight leg version of the same pose. Keeping the legs straight, slide the hands down to about your knees. A pelvic tuck, tailbone down, so you feel the spine arch up, pressing up against the shirt toward the ceiling. And then here, trying your best to roll the tailbone out, creating a flat low back and mid back. And holding that position, fold the hands on the forehead. Elbows lifted, spine long and straight. 5, 4, 3, 2, and come up. If you find that you can't turn your pelvis and hold the spine like that with straight legs, you can go back to the bent leg version. We're going to try one more straight leg version. We'll go right into it this time. Find the balance in your spine, nice straight spine. Keep that balance there. Bring the hands to the forehead. Here we have to make doubly sure we keep the chest long so that we don't arch up, rounding the back. And then further challenge, take the arms straight forward alongside the ears. Holding here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and release, come up. And then we'll take that technology, as I like to call it, into chair pose. Feet together. We'll start by bending the knees, sitting down, hands on the knees. Here again, you can explore what it's like to overly arch the spine forward or round the back and see what those two positions feel like. Then feeling your spinal position, come to the middle, balanced long on both sides, front and back. And then we'll take the arms just alongside here and hold that experience in the spine and the hip hinge. You'll notice my knees are over the toes or even a little bit beyond, and that's perfectly fine. And then come up and release. Let's challenge it now with arms above the head. Now this inherently pushes the ribs forward for most folks. So you've got to watch there and keep the ribs balanced in the body line. Take a breath in. Maintain that spinal position as you come into the pose. You'll notice as I hip hinge, my trunk definitely, my spine leans forward, and that's just normal biomechanics. That's fine, but we want to keep that balanced front and back body length. Neither bowing nor arching. 5, 4, 3, 2, come out and rest. The next pose is called Parsvottanasana. We'll split the legs staggered with the back foot pointing mostly forward, but not straight ahead forward. In this pose, raise the arms up. Both legs stay straight, and we're going to pitch forward about 45 degrees. So now that you've experienced this a little bit, you have to feel, are you rounding? Are you overarching? Find that balanced middle and hold about 45 degrees or so. And then come up, release the arms, and change legs. Left leg forward, right leg with foot turned mostly forward. Arms up, and then again, coming out, hip hinging over the left hip, and finding your balanced spine, equal length, front side of the body, back side of the body. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release the arms. One more time, each side. Right leg forward, left leg back, arms up. And coming forward about 45 degrees, let's balance the spine. I tend to push my ribs forward, so that's what I'm watching for in my pose. You have to find what your body tends to do and make your adjustment. And release, and come out. Left leg forward, right leg back, arms up, both legs straight, hinge over the left hip. At about 45 degrees, so we're not really trying to challenge the hamstrings, we're really trying to challenge the awareness of what the spine and ribs and hip hinge are doing. And then release. Come out of your pose. Let's try this now in one final challenge that adds a little balance called Warrior 3. We're going to stand on the right foot with the left leg back and straight. Right leg will be bent. Let the arms hang down to the floor with a little energy in them, and start by hinging over the right hip, bringing the trunk closer to the floor. You're watching for overextension forward or flexing, rounding, and bring the balance into the spine. Bring all of your body weight now over your right leg and try to raise the left foot from the floor, hinging a little more deeply into the pose. You're watching for over pushing of the ribs forward or rounding of the back up. Touch down the back foot and come out of your pose. Let's try the second side. Left foot forward, right leg back, bend the left leg just a little bit, right leg straight, with a straight spine, hinge over the left hip, and bring your body weight over the left leg. And then, with the arms a little energized toward the floor, raise the right foot off the ground, hinging a little bit more over the left hip. Holding here, monitoring the spine position, the spinal length, front and back, and then touch down. Come out of your pose. We'll finish the standing exploration with one more Uttanasana, forward fold. Take a breath in, hinge over the hips, slide the hands down to any level, any depth that you can keep the spine long and straight. Hinge from the hips first, adjust the spine second. Hold your position and choose if you want to go hands to forehead or all the way out with me with arms. Hold strongly for 5, 4, 3, 2, release your arms, bend your knees and come down to your mat. Now that we've gone from standing pose, we'll go to a downward facing dog and learn to feel that spinal position and hip hinge here. We'll start downward dog with bent legs, so we take the tension out of the hamstrings so that they're not an issue in the pose. Hands on the mat, shoulder width, tuck your toes under, and lift your knees. Remember, knees bent and heels high. Then hip hinge very deeply as you push the chest a little closer to your knees. And you're looking to feel, where am I bowing, where am I arching? Can I bring more balance to the front and back sides of my spine? The chest side, the shoulder blade side, the belly button side, the back body side. Come down and rest. Now, if you feel that your hamstrings will allow you to go fully straight legs without forcing your back into a rounded position, then we could try straight legs. Otherwise, perfectly fine and probably advantageous to stay with bent knees. So you're going to choose. I'm going to demonstrate straight legs. You pick the one that's right for you. Hands on the mat, tuck your toes, lift your knees. And again, you're choosing whether you're going to straighten the legs or keep bent knees. You have to feel now, scan, what is the spine doing? Where does it need to lengthen? Is it on the front side? Do the ribs need to adjust? Could the hip hinge be deeper? And by scanning the body like this, the power of yoga that way, we start to build awareness, not only body, but self-awareness. And that just keeps growing and growing with practice. And come down and rest. Have a seat. For our next pose, we're going to do a wide leg position. And here's just the facts. If your hamstrings or hips are such that when you sit slouched, well, you could either try to sit up tall, or your structure says it's just not going to work that way. So you need a fold of blankets or a yoga block, or even if you need to, you might even sit on a couch so that you can get that length in your spine. Placing your hands on a support behind you, any solid support, start by rolling at the hip hinge. We're lifting the sacrum and doing the hip hinge we learned in the standing poses. Lifting there. Now the mobile ones, and my body tends towards mobility, we overdo it by pushing the kidneys deeper into the body and overarching the back. We don't want to do that either. We're looking for balanced lift in the spine. Holding here, the best lift that you can create, the most balanced lift you can create, take your arms up. Legs powerfully pushing down against the floor so you have an equal and opposite lift up. Hold there, and then release. Now we'll take this into a twist. Once again, press the legs into the floor. Lift the sacrum so we've got our nice hip hinge. That allows the spine to lift. Left hand in between the legs, right hand behind, and we're turning. If you tend towards stiffness, again, you have to lift from the sacrum to raise up. If you tend towards hypermobility, you've got to watch those ribs that they're not just flaring forward. And we're overpressing the kidneys. And then release. To the second side, right hand in between the legs, push down powerfully. Be tall through the spine, adjusting as you need. And then we're turning. And then release. Let's get a little bit now of counterposing for the lower back. Sitting in cross legs, and you can remain up on your support if you're on a yoga block or blankets. And then we'll come into our pose. Just an easy forward fold. And here you want to keep your buttock bones heavy onto your yoga mat so that the low back can release. Holding your pose. You know, if you find yourself, you're way up here and your only movement is this, you could use a little bit more height so that you can get any amount of forwardness in your posture. Okay? Let's switch the legs. Crossing the other leg in front. Buttock bones heavy. And then coming forward. Keeping the buttock bones heavy, we're trying to relax forward from both the hip joints and the lower back. Allowing the lumbar muscles now to lengthen from all the work that they've done today. And then coming up. And that's going to bring this lesson to an end. I recommend practicing this often so you build the awareness of your spine, your lower back, and your hip joints. These are such critical areas for our movement and our musculoskeletal health. I'll see you on the next Unwind from the Grind lesson. Take care.